What if I told you there's a popular handgun out there, used by law enforcement, used by the US military, used by thousands of everyday concealed carriers, that has repeatedly been accused of firing without the trigger ever being touched? We're talking about real lawsuits, real injuries, and even real and very recent deaths. And the gun? The Sig Sauer P320, which also has other variants, including the military-issued M17 and M18. This one's going to make some people angry, but if you carry a gun, you need to know the truth. How the Sig P320 became a legend. Now, the P320 wasn't born in controversy. It launched in 2014 as a striker-fired, polymer-framed handgun with some really forward-thinking features. It had a modular chassis, tool-free disassembly, trigger-forward design, and most notably, no external safeties. In 2017, the US military adopted a modified version of the P320, the M17 and the M18, as its new sidearm, replacing the Beretta M9. And the Sig marketed it hard as a modern, combat-proven striker pistol. But not long after, something started to go wrong. The first Sig P320 accidents. In 2017, the Dallas Police Department pulled every P320 from duty after one officer was injured when his holstered gun discharged, reportedly without trigger input. Now, that same year, a gun reviewer tested the P320 and found it could discharge if dropped at a certain angle, muzzle up and to the rear, causing the inertia of the slide and internal components to move rearward and strike the striker. In other words, the gun could fire from a bump. Sig issued a voluntary upgrade to fix the issue. They didn't call it a recall, however. But that was just the beginning. The lawsuits pile up. Since 2018, dozens of lawsuits have been filed against Sig Sauer. As of July 2025, more than 100 people have reportedly been injured by P320 discharges that occurred without pulling the trigger. These include police officers, federal agents, military personnel, and civilians. One recent high-profile case involves 21-year-old Braden Levon of Greenville, Kentucky. He was reportedly killed when his M18 went off uncommanded. Air Force Global Strike Command has since banned the M18 until further investigation. Now, Sig released a few statements. One was that the P320 cannot, under any circumstances, discharge without a trigger pull, attributing reported incidents to user error. And another statement posted to social media by the New Hampshire-based company, Sig said it would support military investigations into the M18. Quote, "Our hearts are with these service members and families impacted by the recent reported events at the F.E. Warren Air Force Base. We proactively offered assistance to the U.S. military as they investigate the incident and remain willing to help in furtherance of the ongoing inquiry," the company said. "We have absolute confidence in the military's ability to conduct a thorough investigation and are working with the Air Force and the Army to answer any of their questions." Now, other cases include officers shot in the leg while reholstering, guns firing while being set down on a desk, discharges during training with holstered weapons, and some of these events were even caught on surveillance video. Others were witnessed by multiple people. A YouTuber known as Wyoming Gun Project just released a video where he shows with 1mm or less of trigger input, combined with simply pressing on the slide or rocking the slide side to side, uncommanded discharges were happening. He was able to repeat it 5 times in a row using just a case and primer.
Did you see that? Holy crap!
Sig's response and the upgrade path. After the drop fire issue emerged, Sig released a voluntary upgrade program in 2017. They replaced key components, including a lighter striker, an updated sear, a new disconnector, and a trigger with different weight and geometry. Almost sounds like a completely new gun, doesn't it? But the most recent discharges involve upgraded models, even military M17s and M18s, that had supposedly been fixed. Sig continues to claim the P320 is safe and meets all industry standards. They've also settled many lawsuits out of court without ever admitting fault. But the volume of new incidents, especially those involving modern upgraded guns, is making the claim harder to defend. And the fact that they won government contracts over Glock is making many service members nervous, with many agencies and training programs recently banning the P320. So what's really going wrong? Experts suggest the issue comes down to the fire control unit and internal tolerances being off. The P320 uses a modular fire control unit, which is great for flexibility, but it's not surrounded by a frame that limits over travel like in some other guns. My P365 has the same play in the slide that the P320 does. It also uses the same modular fire control unit. If the striker or sear is out of spec even slightly, or if parts are overly worn, or if there's just the right bump or torque, the gun can release the striker without a trigger pull. And because there's no external safety, no grip safety, no trigger blade safety, nothing else stands in the way of unintentional discharge. This puts the P320 in a unique category where mechanical failure can lead to a discharge with no user input whatsoever. And to be fair, we have to ask the question, has this happened to other guns? The Sig P320 isn't the only gun that's ever had an uncommanded discharge. Here's a quick rundown of other firearms with dangerous recalls or discharge issues. The Remington 700, known for firing when the safety was disengaged, led to massive lawsuits and a class action settlement. The Taurus Millennium series, the PT-111, PT-140, etc., safety defects and drop fire problems. Taurus settled a class action for $39 million and offered buybacks. Springfield XDS, 2013 to 2014, recall for potential discharges when chambering a round. Walther CCP, 2016, recall due to potential for discharge if dropped. Ruger SR9, 2008, recall for potential discharge if dropped. And the Glock Gen 4 models. Glock has held isolated reports of uncommanded discharges, but most were found to be due to aftermarket parts, worn striker springs, or user error. However, in rare cases, over-polished connectors or improperly assembled firing pins caused unintentional discharges. Now, Glock has not faced the same volume of litigation or public incidents as Sig with the P320. They also officially recalled the firearms in question and offered a solution that fixed the issue. So in other words, they took responsibility. So, should you carry a P320? Would I carry a P320? Here's the honest truth. Many people carry the Sig P320 and never experience an issue. My brothers and other shooters I train with have had theirs for a few years now without incident. Granted, they don't holster them, they just use them at the range as toys. The gun is accurate, it shoots well, it's well balanced, and it has great aftermarket support. But if a firearm has a proven history of uncommanded discharges, if those discharges have injured trained professionals, if upgraded models are still firing without warning, you have to ask, why risk it? There are plenty of other striker-fired pistols on the market with better safety records. Glock, Smith & Wesson, HK, Walther, FN. If you're dead set on the P320, get it inspected by a professional, even if it's brand new. Don't use aftermarket triggers. Use a solid holster that protects the entire trigger guard and avoid hard surface impacts at all costs. But if you're a new shooter or a concealed carrier who wants zero risk, you might want to pick something else, at least for now. Guns are machines. They are a tool. They should only fire when you tell them to. If your toaster randomly exploded, you wouldn't call it user error. You'd call it a defective product. And you'd want answers, and possibly a new loaf of bread. The P320 isn't the only gun to have issues, but it might be the most persistent modern example of silent failure. And when lives are on the line and lives have been lost, that's not something you ignore. Stay safe, train smart, and carry a gun that listens when you say go and stays quiet when you don't. Check out these other videos to keep on learning, and I'll see you on the next one.